Welcome to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives with Rebecca Hall Gruyter. In our program each week, we provide the tools, ideas, and encouragement to help you move ahead on your journey, becoming a more powerful and impactful woman in your own life. Now here's your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter.
Welcome, everyone. I hope you're having an amazing day today. I'm honored to be connecting in with you. And can you believe we are almost to September? This is the final week of August. The summer has just gone by so quickly. And we have been focused on this summer, really looking at how do we show up powerfully in our life, fully show up, not treat it like a dress rehearsal. Not next time I'll fully show up, but now that it matters that we bring it all forward, that we're willing to share fully who we are with the world, not holding anything back, but bringing it all forward, taking center stage, sharing our gifts and our talents in the world. Today, I wanted us to focus in as we continue that series, and we're getting ready to transition into the fall season here as we look forward in the year. How do we continue to stay on purpose? How do we discover our purpose? How do we move through things that are coming up? Maybe there are things that are making us nervous, afraid, stressed. Things that as we shift and we move more into walking on purpose and with purpose and fully showing up and stretching in new ways, there can be some anxiety that can come up. There can be things that we're now having to face as we're stepping out in a bigger way. And we have an amazing guest today that is going to help us dig into this a little bit deeper and really support us. So as we are stepping forward, shining, sharing, how can we do that more fully? How can we process those feelings and those emotions to be in really authentically, truly who we are, who we're called to be, and share that with the world? So I know we've got an amazing show lined up. Excited to share all Jean's wisdom and insight with us today. And to set the tone on stage, I wanted to share a poem with us just to kind of bring us to center and reflect a little bit. And now this poem I'm about to read is by Sam Yao. He is our poetry sponsor and has just very generously shared his poetry with us so that we get to share one poem a month. If you ever want to learn more about Sam, you can go to samyaopoetry.com, and that's SAMYAU poetry.com, and you will find his amazing work. But I want you to listen with a few different thoughts as I get ready to share this poem. I read this the first time and I imagined it as if I was meeting someone. And then I read it another time and it was like I was meeting my true self. Like it's impacted me differently at different times. So I'm curious as you listen in what you see, what you feel. The poem is titled, I Can't Wait to Meet You. When I see your face for the first time, you lift your gaze to meet mine. Time freezes. Everyone else fades away. We know our destiny. Fired up neurons trans-dance in unison. We dive into each other with no fear. We soar to heaven. We sink to hell. Unleash our best, our worst. Mirror each other's light and shadow. We grind at each other's humanness. In joy, in pain, we grow together. No matter how many times we separate and reunite, we always find our way back to one another. We recognize our original faces, remember our eternal bond, intertwined for many lifetimes, forever in each other's embrace. To see and be seen in our soul essence is to be in God's presence. And as you take that poem in, I Can't Wait to Meet You is the title. I want you to just see how it's speaking to you. I'm going to lead us into a heart meditation. I what that means is we're going to take a moment to breathe in through our nose, out through our mouth, like through a straw. Just breathing, slowing down, becoming fully present. Eyes and ears to hear, heart to receive. I encourage you to close your eyes. You're absolutely safe. Another beautiful breath. Put both hands on your heart. As you do so, what is your heart speaking, sharing with you? What is it you need today to encourage you, to support you, to empower you, to help you truly see another, encourage you to step forward fully, sharing your gifts and your talents with the world? What is it you need today that you are willing to receive? Because you have choice. So what is it that you need and are willing to receive? Don't need to worry about how at all. It's just identifying what you need, are willing to receive, and what your heart is sharing with you. Beautiful. Let's take a breath. Come back into the room, fully present, and take a moment to write down what was laid on your heart. Let's get it out of swirling around in us and bring it forward so we can see it. We can co-create it. We can bring it into reality. Write down what came to your heart, your mind, and your spirit when we took a moment to slow down and listen. Beautiful. So as you're capturing that information, I encourage you, keep taking beautiful deep breaths. This time is for you to be poured into and to receive. You get to experience being during the show and being supported and connected with and uplifted. So I hope you can feel that as we're connecting in heart, mind, body, soul, and spirit. With that, Jean, I would love for you to share, when we took a moment, just a 15, 20-second share, what was laid on your heart to share today. I'd love to hear.
Well, I love it. I can't wait to meet you because of course, I look at it from the internal, in that we are always releasing the ego, dissolving the ego, but in the process, we're learning how to connect with that deeper essence of who we are, that beautiful self, that it's always there available to us, and learning how to live from that. So I love, so many of those. It was just a beautiful poem, but diving into each other and growing together and this eternal bond, and it's all in God's presence. I mean, all of that speaks to me as really living from a self-realization of we are that God presence, and that we can share from there. And it's just beautiful. I think there's so many opportunities every day to do that. So I'm in love with the poem. I love it.
Aww.
It speaks to me.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I love how it touched you and bringing your perspective to it, because I think it can just touch our lives and our hearts in so many different ways. And these times where we can come together and like really connect and become more of who we are.
Theme of this of this present time period we're in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think that sometimes people get confused because, everything's different right now. And I don't mean pandemic. I mean, there's been such a big shift in the universe, and everything feels different and unknown and, sometimes confusing for people. But if they look at something like this poem, and realize this is a shift to the internal and the eternal, and then I think it becomes more of an opportunity to quell into that and dig into that and explore that more and create a life around that, rather than trying to live in the external world without that deeper input.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. We are getting ready to go to our next commercial break. And as we do our first, I would say, my goodness, our first, our first commercial break of the show. And as we do that, listeners, I want you to really think about Sam's poem. I want you to think about Jean's comments and additional thoughts kind of layering into that. And how is this speaking to you as we look at where we are? Internally, externally, we look at who we're being. Take these next couple moments to breathe, process, and receive all the insight that is coming to you and the thoughts. Just give yourself that time to let them bubble to the surface. Breathe, and we will continue our conversation in just a moment.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
Explore the poetry of Sam Yao. His book of poems, Soul's Journey, is a #1 international bestseller. Sam is a contemporary poet with a unique and highly relatable poetic style to convey the essence of spiritual truths for our time. Readers will find beauty, inspiration, and healing in his words. Get his book, Soul's Journey, today on Amazon.com or visit samyaopoetry.com. That's Sam, Y-A-U, poetry.com.
Announcing a powerful new TV channel featuring programs designed to enhance and transform your life. Make powerful connections, one program at a time. And by doing so, we can bring transformation to the world. Tune in each week to Empowered Connections TV as we add new programs to help you make empowered connections of your own. Visit empoweredconnectionstv.com. That's empoweredconnectionstv.com. And make the most of an incredible life transformation.
Rebecca Hall Gruyter's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at speakertalentsearch.com. That's speakertalentsearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You're listening to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives with your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter. If you have a question or comment for Rebecca or her guest, we'd love to hear from you. Please call into the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to Rebecca at yourpurposedrivenpractice.com. Now back to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed those 2 minutes, that opportunity to breathe, to process. I think it's amazing what can happen 2 minutes at a time like that. One of the things that most powerfully shifted my life was when I learned to process things on a cellular level. I discovered I could actually go faster forward. I could move forward faster, more purposely, when I learned to slow down and be mindful and process. My grandma always used to tell me, she would say, my highs in life and lows in life, I would say, sharing exciting news, whether it was exciting, wonderful, or exciting, really hard. She'd always tell me, Rebecca, remember to breathe. Remember to process on a cellular level. Your mind moves so fast. Give your body and cells and spirit time to connect and to process and integrate. So we have built these commercial breaks in the show on purpose for you to be able to breathe, to process, to integrate, and really take in what serves you most. So I encourage you, really use those opportunities to be present and to receive. I'm very excited to have our amazing guest. We have had her on the show before, so you can do a search and look at some of the past interviews that we have done with Jean. And I'm just thrilled to share her with you today. I know you're going to love her. Not only did you get to meet her on a heart level in our opening segment, but I wanted to share and introduce just a little bit of her background to give you a taste of her and why she does what she does. So Jean Walters has been at the forefront in the movement for personal transformation, clarity, and truth for over 30 years. She has guided thousands of clients and students to their deepest truths and light. She is a best-selling author. She is a radio show host, a columnist, a best-selling author of multiple books, and not just one or two, multiple books that she has brought forward to serve and support. She's provided over 35,000 Akashic readings, recorded readings, I want to say that correctly, to people all over the world. She is passionate about helping you step more deeply into your truth, your passion, and your light. Please lean in and warmly welcome the powerful, transformational, and dynamic Jean Walters to the show. Welcome!
Yay!
Yay!
Thank you so much for that wonderful interview, for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate it.
Oh, you are so welcome. I'm just honored and thrilled to have you joining us today. And I wanted to start our conversation with why. I mean, you have dedicated so many years, so many different ways that you're supporting people in this space. Why is this work personally so important to you?
Yes. Well, the first thing I would say to you is that it's all about me, meaning that whatever I have, I give, and whatever I give, I increase within myself. So everything I'm learning, I pass along, but that creates more space for things for me to learn. So it's a cycle, and everybody has that same cycle. I think sometimes when people give, they think that it's taking stuff from them. But when I give, I know it's giving to myself, so that I'm always in that mode of receiving the truth and then sharing it. And so that's in a nutshell. I have another reason, that started me off, and that was my mother, because she was such a nervous wreck and so fear-based, and I made a commitment to myself when I was really young that I was going to find another way. And I think that set the course for my life, to tell you the truth, because from that moment on, I've been seeking ways that I did not have to live in fear, that I could live in a much higher energy of love. So that was the very beginning.
Thank you for sharing that. No, I appreciate that, because it's so much around us influences what we think or what becomes important. So at such a young age, knowing that, I want to choose, I want to find another way to live life so that I am not afraid, but I am coming from love. So I think that's so powerful and has guided so much of what you do, and your commitment to passing on and sharing what you discover with others. And you have discovered that actually increases, not depletes, increases.
Oh, absolutely. It's a cycle. This beautiful energy comes through you. I call it the light, but you can call it anything. You can call it wisdom. It comes through you, and then you get to hand it out to others, because that keeps the cycle going. And if you just store it, I know people who just read books and books, and they do this and they do that, and they bet, it's like exploding at some point. If you don't start sharing it, you're going to explode, But I actually like sharing. When I did a meditation on what is my purpose, as far as the world is concerned, it was one word: teach. So whatever I'm doing, I'm actually teaching. So whether it's a book I'm writing, or it's a class, or it's a counseling session, it still involves teaching.
I love that. And I love that you have been so on mission and so purposeful in doing this. And that example of that exploding, I could feel the energy of that build up. And I love how you've been so good at just continuing to share out that there's just this channel that creates room for more and more and more. And what a gift to all of us. So I'm
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The bottom line is really self-realization. I mean, we all are here to really develop our knowing of who we truly are. You know, the innate power that we have, the innate ability to be unlimited. But we have to cultivate that because the world tries to teach us in another direction. It wants to make everything that is, we look out with our physical eyes, they want to make the material world the reality. But it really is like looking at the teeny bit of at the top of the iceberg, you know, and we want to go down. I want to take people down into what's below that, and that will change the whole meaning of what's external of the material world because we'll see with different eyes. Does that make sense? Okay.
It does. It does, and actually it raises a question. So do I have permission to go off the question list?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, absolutely.
Just don't want to, without permission, surprise you.
Well, you let us guide you, and that's lovely.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for being willing to go there. It raises a question as you're sharing how sometimes the world can influence us or shape us, and to look differently at the world. So, my question is, how can we perhaps recognize that we are, in a sense, living that in a way that isn't true to who we truly are, and then what are some of the indicators that perhaps that's going on, and then if we see some of those, what can we do about it?
Okay, well, definitely the stress levels. I mean, when people are living in stress, they are off course in some way or other. And so they need to start asking themselves some questions, like, what am I so stressed about, and what have I made real about that, and what part of it is not real? So I'll just use my mom as an example, because it's not going to hurt anybody. But, you know, she was just kind of very nervous and worrisome about everything. And so I would challenge it a lot, you know, which of course I'm sure she loved that. But it's like, you know, and even now today people are worried about being ill and dying, but it's not happening. You know, when you're missing this moment because you're so busy worrying about what could happen, which probably is never going to happen. I mean, I think it's scientifically been proven, like 99% of our fears never come into actualization, so we spend a lot of time on things that are just consuming mentally, emotionally, and then it never happen, and therefore we miss out on all the wonder and the amazement that is available in any given moment. So watch the stress level and watch the tension in your body, you know, and then you watch the way your mind is working. What are you gravitating toward? I really encourage people a lot, Rebecca, you know, you may not like this, but do not watch the news. And especially if you have an anxiety issue, do not watch the news, because the news is set up to be dramatic. It's not that the news has to be dramatic, but it's set up that way. So when you have a tendency toward stress, please don't just throw gasoline on that, you know, and then pay attention to everything and everyone that's just going to make it worse for you. You have to take control, and that means find a way that you can move into a greater sense of peace.
Thank you for sharing. So just to restate some of the key points I heard is this awareness of really paying attention to our anxiety level, our stress level, and are we worrying a lot? Where is our mind going? And recognizing how much time and energy we're worrying about whatever it is. And that in reality, very rarely, a small percent of that is coming true. And that can take a lot of our energy. And being mindful of what we're feeding into ourselves. I mean, to me, I'm thinking that could be what we're inputting. It could be music. It could be the types of things in the news that we're watching. It could be the types of things we're watching. It could be the types of people and what they're focusing on and connecting. And are we feeding more into drama when we're already struggling with anxiety? Or are we looking for ways to breathe and maybe pour peace or things that are encouraging and positive to us? I think those are really important things to think about. Anything else you would add to that?
Yeah, a quick shift. a quick shift when you find that you're overcome with all of that, anxiety, worry, whatever, is move. And I mean, if you're inside, go outside. I mean, move. If you're sitting down, get up and walk. Do change where you are, change what you're doing, because it's like jolting the mind. And so that's a quick fix. But what we want to do beyond that, to create a long-term understanding is to start asking questions like, what is real here? We tell ourselves a lot of stories. My mom had lots and lots of stories. This terrible thing is going to happen and that terrible thing is going to happen, and it didn't. But the bottom line is she was consumed with the stories. And many people I hear consumed with a story that is keeping themselves small and keeping themselves inhibited and tight and worried. And yet those stories are just fabrications. We can make up a new one. Does that make sense?
Oh, I love that too. There was someone, and I'm blanking on his name right now, but a brain expert, and he said, be careful what you're saying because your mind's listening. It's going to say, okay. So what are we telling our mind and believing and really being mindful of that? And we can choose. I like that. We can choose the story. We can choose the dialogue. We can choose what we're telling ourselves and what we're believing, what we're feeding into ourselves. So I love that movement. And actually, it's so interesting you brought that up. So every once in a while, I have a desk that I can move up and down. And every once in a while, I feel like there's a show or there's one that I'm like, this needs the standing energy. So today is a standing energy. and I find I'm moving my weight kind of from in my feet, where the weight back and forth. Like I feel like there's this movement and energy even in the show that we're having today. So I think it can be these simple ways that we can bring movement and create space for what we're doing. And so,
I can give you an example also.
Yeah, please.
Moving
Sure.
the mind. Like I have a florist that comes in, and she's had a florist shop for, I guess, around 7-8 years or something. It might have been more. Anyway, and she bought it from someone else. And I said to her, you've always known you're the best florist in St. Louis. And she says, yes, I do know that. And I said, so however you got to that point where you know that, now I want you to know that you have the best staff in St. Louis, too. Now, St. Louis is a relative term. It could be anywhere. I have the best staff in the universe. But the point of it is that that's the area that she was having trouble is creating and developing a staff that was exactly what she needed. But she already had the other part down. So what I was asking her to do is take that part that you already know, because she created that. That was completely her creation. I am the best florist in St. Louis. And it doesn't matter if it's true or not because she's living from that, you see? And so when she shifted that over to I have the best staff in St. Louis, then she started attracting the people, and she knew where to go to get the people that she needed for her staff. And so that's how the mind works. It's like if we go, oh my gosh, this is going to be so much trouble and I don't know if I can do it. And then we're imprinting the mind with that sort of information. And we have to decide, is that really the information I want to program my mind with, But anyway, that's a little example of someone who's just made use of this process we're talking about.
Powerful. I love it. I love it. We are getting ready to go to our next commercial break. And as we do that, listeners, I want you to think about some of what Jean and I have been sharing and some of this maybe shifting of perspective that Jean's inviting us into in awareness that can really help us move from places of anxiety into a more powerful place, or maybe ways we've been limiting ourselves or focused on what we can't versus what we are and what we're wanting to bring forward. What are we telling ourselves? And let's take a couple moments and really just see what comes up. And I invite you to, in that awareness, see if you want to start telling yourself something different. And we'll look forward to continuing our conversation in just a moment.
follow us on Twitter at VoiceAmericaTRN. Get the lowdown on guests, new shows, and your favorites. That's VoiceAmericaTRN.
Rebecca Hall Gruyter's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at SpeakerTalentSearch.com. That's SpeakerTalentSearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message. It's time to serve, learn, change the world. Tune in each week for The Power of Young People to Change the World, hosted by NYLC CEO Amy Mewers. The program is a forum for both young people and the adults who love and support them. We make connections with others through stories of change, partnership, and new perspectives of issues facing the world today. Be sure to join us every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time and 3 p.m. Pacific Time, or anytime on demand on the Voice America Empowerment Channel.
Announcing a powerful new TV channel featuring programs designed to enhance and transform your life. Make powerful connections, one program at a time. And by doing so, we can bring transformation to the world. Tune in each week to Empowered Connections TV as we add new programs to help you make empowered connections of your own. Visit EmpoweredConnectionsTV.com. That's EmpoweredConnectionsTV.com. And make the most of an incredible life transformation.
You're listening to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives with your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter. If you have a question or comment for Rebecca or her guest, we'd love to hear from you. Please call into the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to Rebecca at yourpurposedrivenpractice.com. Now back to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed those 2 minutes, that opportunity to pause and breathe and really think about, what are you telling yourself? And is it time to perhaps tell yourself something different? So really great to stop and check in sometimes and see. And sometimes I have found that I'll recognize the feeling, the heaviness, the stress, the anxiety before I'll recognize what I'm telling myself. So sometimes that's where I'll start is, where is this coming from? And then I'm able to dig in a little deeper to discover what maybe I'm focusing on or telling myself that is feeding into that. And actually, Jean, I'm curious, do you find that's common for people, or another way they can identify is looking at the feelings?
Whatever works best. So, but you got to pay attention, because your body, if your body is stressed, it's telling you something. And there's a reason why your body is stressed, not because stress is the everyday emotion for everyone. No, it's not. But that's how we have our little signals, whether the mind is troubled or the body's stressed or we're just, not sleeping or whatever. There's something telling us, and we need to pay attention and not just write it off. Everybody's stressed right now. No, they're not.
Yep, beautiful.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah. I was just thinking it's timely to just revisit it a little bit, because everyone just had 2 minutes to kind of see, what are we thinking? What are we feeling? So that's beautiful. And I know some of the work that you do, I mentioned just a huge number, 35,000 Akashic record readings that you have done. And I just thought, that might be a new term for some of our listeners. And I didn't want that to be a mystery. So do you mind explaining, what is that? And why is that something that can serve somebody to have a reading or know what that is?
For sure. Well, Akasha, first of all, is a Sanskrit word, and it really depicts the energy in which we live, breathe, and have our being, which is the quantum field. So within that quantum field, every thought you think, every action you take is imprinted. And this is not like in a book where you have writing, but this is an energy imprint that's in the mind, that's in the Akasha, and it's in the quantum field. And so an example would be like if I'm angry at someone and I don't resolve it within myself, it needs to be, it's recorded. as an incident that needs to keep coming back until I can resolve it and be free. So Akasha, to give an Akashic reading, you're actually reading the energy of a person. And for me, my purpose, my intent always is to do this from a point of view of growth. Like, what am I seeing that can provide an opportunity for growth for this person? Because they may want to know, in a past life was I a princess or something, and that's lovely, but that's not going to be my purpose. I'm always going to be there to help them see a bigger picture of what's going on in your life, what's the energy, and what are ways that you can look at it differently or resolve it and come to peace.
So really helping them come to a more centered, peaceful place instead of that thing driving them, but helping them resolve it. And
in our world, a lot of times it's his fault, it's their fault. Well, if my husband were better, then this, and if my mother had treated me nicer, then that. And so many people look out there and go, they're the reason. You're the reason. And it's really, it's not going to get them anywhere. All it's going to do is keep them all bottled up and kind of a little bit crazy, And when we start looking at ourselves and going, okay, why have I let my mother affect me? What's in me that's allowed me to let that be? What is it about my relationship with my husband that I need to look at, that I need to change? When we do that, that's when we come to terms. That's when we can really make changes.
I think this is really powerful because you're right. We can so often, and then we lose all our power too. If it's always these things outside us making whatever happen or being the cause, then we're in somewhat of a position, a powerless position and a victim versus being able to change our response or look at things differently or recognizing, what is that point that is sensitive that is being touched and how can I address that?
Why have I made it sensitive? Exactly. And then when you clear that up, it's like you create space in your quantum field. You create space. You resolve something so that is no longer relevant for you. And then there's more space for you to be who you truly are, your truly authentic self. Your powerful, dynamic being, your creative, talented being. But if you keep hanging on to those things and go, well, he did it, she did it, they did it, then you are stuck, and you can't go anywhere until you take care of that.
Beautiful, beautiful, and I love how the universe can be so loving to keep us there until we resolve and deal and.
It actually is love because we're here to, move to a higher vibration, a higher space, and it brings you right back. Oh, wait a minute, now there's another angry person in my life. Well, wait a minute.
There's a pattern here.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. So just another question I have along this, that some of that could be really hard. I know the moments in my life where I had patterns happening that were horrible. They were horrible, painful, hard things. And I remember at one point sitting there and it dawned on me I was creating this. And it was horrible.
Ah, beautiful.
And it was in that horrible weight of that and that I was causing this pain and this discomfort and this thing was horrible. But then it was like I was able to flip the coin over and say, but if that's the case and I am that powerful, not no power, I have the power to do that, then I also have the power to change it. And that became a very empowering moment. But it didn't happen instantly. And so I'm just curious when, and it happens, there are new discoveries all the time of things that I get to shift. Right. So I'm curious what you would say to somebody that...
Right. I had the exact same thing happen where I created such a terrible mess. And then I kept going, I did it. This is every fear I've ever had is right here. And then I went, okay, I did it. I created it. I am just as strong to create something new. And so, I think that's beautiful. And maybe people will recognize that now and go, oh, that's me. You know, and then that begins a new journey for them. That's fantastic.
Well, I love that, and I think maybe just when we have those moments, remembering to flip the coin, and that you can.
That would require that you're not so mired in it.
Yeah.
You know, that's why, again, get up, move out, go to nature, go to a museum, change your view, you know, change something so that you can actually begin to breathe and see and look at a different reality and ask yourself some questions. You know, and that's how we start. That's how we get started with this.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I know you have a book coming out, so I wanted to make sure we got to share with our listeners about your book. And what is the title? Have you finalized the title, I should ask, of your new book?
Well, I think I have for now, and I send it to the editor, and she always has such wonderful ideas. So, you know, I said, look at the title, see what you think. But anyway, it's called Deep Truth, Wisdom of the Masters, Reality and Illusion. And then the subtitle is going to be Practical Steps to Understand the Universe, Master the Mind, Develop Intuition, Deepen Wisdom, and Live an Inspired Life.
Beautiful.
So that's a lot of a title. That's a little title. That's the title.
But it's great. I can see it's even evolved a little bit since the information I had. So that's great that it's evolving and coming forward. And that's a huge step. So that means, listeners, if you haven't brought a book forward, when you're at the stage where you're sending it to the editor, that means it's been created. And now it's doing the fine tuning and all those other things that make the book become a book. You know, open, close, cover, all those things. But that's the huge undertaking is getting that content ready to share with the editor. So I just want to take a moment and say congratulations for
thank you
that.
So much.
It's huge. And I know some of the things we've been talking about you touch on in your book. And so I wanted to make sure listeners knew about that. If some of the things that we're talking about are they're pulling at their heart or kind of they're wanting more, I wanted them to know about the book. At the end of the show, I'm going to have you share your contact information and your other books because there's multiple. But when you look at the book that you're bringing forward, and do you have a first quarter release date? Do you have kind of a target just so people know when to watch?
Well, I don't know what her time frame is going to be. I know she's going to jump on this because whenever I send her anything, she does, and she's really wonderful that way. And so it's sort of like it's going to be before the end of the year. I can tell you that.
Okay.
I would think that probably in October, and I am an optimist, by the way, you know. So I'm thinking by October, but it means I'm going to need to, get a cover and, whatever editing I'll need to do with her. And but I think October is reasonable, and if not, it'll be November.
Perfect. So coming soon, October, November.
I can tell you that for sure.
Good. I'm glad. Keep me in the loop. We're always love to support you. Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. So we can stay tuned. It's coming soon. And I wanted to ask why. You have other books you've released. You've helped so many people with the different things you already have brought forward. So why did this book call to you to bring it forward? I'd love for you to share with our listeners.
Well, the thing is, and I have turned my life over to Spirit, and I just let Spirit guide me. And that's really what I've decided to do with I've done this years ago where I just you tell me and I'll do it. And that's pretty much how I run my life. And so I live in that space of, intuition, if you want to call it that, or connection. But that's what I feel like I can offer to other people. Because I live from that space. It's wonderful. And I would like to help other people live from that space, too, if that's what they want. And so, it depends on how much work they're willing to do to get there. But I think each of these books, I think of it as one book targets that idea from the point of view of your career, finding your career passion, what is that? And then another book will look at it from the point of view of anxiety, bringing that into peace, and that's another way. So it's like each one kind of looks at it from a different point of view. The first one I put out on Amazon is Set Yourself Free, Live the Life You Were Meant to Live, focuses a lot on spiritual principles.
Mm-hmm.
So, each one, and then I also published one last year on the magic and mystery of dreams and how to use them in your life, not just in your night dreams, but your whole life. So, and that again gives you tools to learn to look at things from another point of view. What's the lesson here, and what am I being told? So all of them sort of around that idea of helping people move into a deeper reality.
Beautiful. And then being led and prompted to bring this book forward, what piece do you see it adding to kind of the library of resources?
Okay, this piece is about more about the quantum field. And this is about, like, for instance, the fact that we live in two worlds, an inner and an outer. And the fact that, we can live from the abstract and understand the world from that point of view, which gives us the ability to see symbols and to see how that relates to us. And then it gives us tools on how to recognize other people, like, what kind of energy do they offer, and then how do we want to deal with that. So a lot of it is, sort of cultivating our inner life is the best way I can say it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So it's broken down, into, deeper wisdom and also personal self and mind mastery and things like that.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I love that. I think the title is Deep Truth really captures that energy. So it'll be interesting to see what your editor, her ideas and thoughts about it as well. But I feel like that captures the energy of what it's adding to the conversation, the tools for people. So I'm excited about that coming soon. Listeners, you heard it here first. We are getting ready to go to our next commercial break. And as we do that, I invite you to take a moment and just really breathe in and process, what is being spoken to your heart and spirit, what is resonating with you, what is serving you. And we'll come back in just a moment.
Announcing a powerful new TV channel featuring programs designed to enhance and transform your life. Make powerful connections, one program at a time. And by doing so, we can bring transformation to the world. Tune in each week to Empowered Connections TV as we add new programs to help you make empowered connections of your own. Visit empoweredconnectionstv.com. That's empoweredconnectionstv.com. And make the most of an incredible life transformation.
Rebecca Hall Gruyter's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at speakertalentsearch.com. That's speakertalentsearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message.
You're listening to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives with your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter. If you have a question or comment for Rebecca or her guest, we'd love to hear from you. Please call into the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to Rebecca at yourpurposedrivenpractice.com. Now back to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed those 2 minutes. I know time moves by so fast. We have so enjoyed having all of you join us today, and I hope that the conversation has served you powerfully and deeply from the inside out and outside in, that it's really serving and supporting you. And I wanted to make sure that we shared ways that you can go deeper and connect with Jean on a continued basis. And so with that, Jean, I'd love for you to share what are the best ways people can connect in with you and follow you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I have a website. It's spiritualtransformation.com. And on the website, I have a button, I guess you would say, where they can sign up for my newsletter, and that comes out about once a week. And normally I have a happy story, and then other things that are coming up, like this radio show for one thing, our podcast. So that'll keep you informed of classes and so forth. So in spiritualtransformation.com, connect with me on that, and then you'll start receiving my newsletter.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I'll put the books on there too, by the way. Yeah.
Perfect. I was just going to ask, so you knew. Perfect.
Yeah.
So all her books are on there. Exactly. And if you do get on her list, you'll also be sent updates when the book release date is going to be, once it's finalized and all those kinds of things. So I encourage you to stay connected and go deeper. And I was just thinking about what we were talking about.
Rebecca?
Oh, sure.
One more thing. When they connect, when the book does come out, I'm going to give them an offer of receiving the first 3 chapters free.
Oh.
So, if they do want to connect and get a taste of that book when it comes out, that offer will be for free.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, reasons to sign up early. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Perfect window. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And I was thinking back on our conversation and about that coin, and realizing that we're telling ourselves those things and creating those things in our life, and then we can shift it. And it just had me flash back to my very first radio show on Voice America. And this is years ago, 7.5, almost 8 years ago. And my worst fears, I was so scared. I was scared of the microphone. I was very new to the technology system that they were using. And I knew one counting system, because there's a countdown system and structure and segments and commercial breaks. Like, I knew one way to do that. And so
that's fantastic, though.
I finally felt like, okay, as long as everything stays connected, I can do this, because that was my worst fear. Something technology-wise would go wrong and I wouldn't know what to do. And sure enough, it starts. And right as they introduce me, my whole system went dead. And I didn't know it. And so, because it was like a power surge. So I just kept going and going, and is silent and silent and silent. And after a while, you know something's wrong. And so they're trying to call me on my phone, but I can't answer because it's live, right? So I can't answer my phone. So I'm ignoring it. And then I finally realized, well, that is from that area code, and no one's talking to me, and it's very quiet. So I'm gonna pick up, and I'll just work it into the show. And so the technician comes on and says, Rebecca, everything went dead. We've been playing music. Here's what we're gonna do. We're changing the structure, and you're gonna go live. 3, 2, 1. And I remember and taking a breath.
Oh, that's incredible.
And yet what happened in that moment, because at first I was scared and I didn't know what to do. My voice was shaky. But when I started over, it was now me versus technology. My people have been waiting, and I now was showing up in a more powerful way. And this is going to be great. And went through it. And if you listen to that first show, you'll hear where I'm trying to reset the system. It's on the phone versus the nice microphone system, etc. Because, we were making it work. And you'll hear where I forgot to mute, and you'll hear me climbing around, restarting, resetting. About 40 minutes in, we get the whole system set up and we go forward. And it was fine. And what I learned is I had faced kind of my biggest fear on my first show, so I wasn't afraid anymore. And so that coin flipped really fast. And at the end, I felt like I'd run a marathon. I wanted a margarita. I did wait till the end of the day for that, though I wanted it sooner. and it became really empowering. So just anyone who is listening today and you're having that moment where you're like, whoa, facing your fear, facing that thing that feels so heavy and impossible, knowing that you have the power to shift it is so important. And that's what has been a real great takeaway for me, Jean, in all of your sharing today.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you.
Perfect. It's perfect.
Appreciate it.
When we walk into our fear, we disempower it. And we find out that it was mostly an illusion anyway. You know,
and it
could
was,
I manage a show? Of course you can manage a show. So you have a little bumps along the way. You know, all of it brings you to a place of better management and, you know, better dynamics. So, yeah.
Exactly. So thank you. And listeners, I just wanted to share that with you as well, and know that, you know, we can go, and we're still doing a daily show 7.5, 8 years later. So it became one of the things I love most. And so that can be on the other side of the fear. So I just wanted to encourage you. I want to encourage all of you to connect with Jean, go deeper with her, and remember that you are so valuable, so needed in this world. And the biggest gift you can give is more of you. So be willing to share the gift of who you are. Be willing to bloom and shine. Have an amazing week, everyone. And I'll look forward to talking to you next time.
Thank you for joining us this week for Empowering Women, Transforming Lives. Please tune in again for another edition with your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter, next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, on the Voice America Empowerment Channel, with a replay on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Pacific on the Voice America Variety Channel. Have a beautiful week, and may you always bloom where you're planted.